A little-known mafia organization called the, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Ndrangheta? Is that correct?
Ndrangheta?
Okay, you got to have that little accent in there. Then I'm going to leave you to say it.
Okay.
But it's risen to a Tier 1 national threat, according to the RCMP. Now, this is a powerful group that has apparently based itself now, the Canadian base of it anyway, is in the GTA. Mike Harvey is joining me now, a former member of the Toronto Police Service, and you later specialized in international organized crime investigations as well. Pronounce that name again for me?
Ndrangheta.
Ndrangheta. And that is Italian.
It's Italian.
Italian, all right.
Forgive my pronunciation as
no,
well, but yes.
Not at all. What else can you tell us about this group, and why are we suddenly hearing about it now?
Well, it's not a new group, as a matter of fact. They originally came out to Canada and elsewhere in the late 50s and early 60s.
Okay.
They immigrated worldwide, internationally, as a result of pressures that were coming to bear on them in Italy. The government at the time was interested in prosecuting them. And in the late 50s and 60s, immigration policies were much more open. So they went not only to Canada, but Latin America, United States, and Canada. When they came here initially, they ensconced themselves within the existing Italian population, and they really focused on them because the Italian population at the time understood that they were powerful and dangerous people. Since then, they've grown economically. Mm-hmm. As always, their power does come from financial power. Their commodities aren't affected by downturns in the economy. Narcotics are always going to be, their #1 priority, and that's always going to be a high-value item.
The lead investigator in Ontario has called them the top mafia threat in the country. Why and how?
Well, I would agree. I think that like all of these organized crime groups or gangs or any of those things, they're always looking for an opportunity. And I think, they're one of two southern Italian groups, La Cosa Nostra, which was typically Sicilian, and Ndrangheta coexisted in Canada. Right now we're hearing more about them, I think, because there's somewhat of a power vacuum right now in Montreal in particular, and they're just trying to take advantage of a situation.
What are their methods then? Is there money laundering? We see drugs, prostitution?
Absolutely. They do the exact same business, and they treat it like a business. I think the difference, in the last decade is that they've actually enlisted the help of other organized crime groups such as outlaw biker organizations to do some of their work while remaining insulated within, what appear to be legitimate businesses.
Is part of the tactic to raise public awareness about this particular group? Is that
I hope.
Part of the
yes,
police
it makes
tactic?
sense. Yeah,
yes.
That would be a great police tactic. I think that unless we know about them, we can't understand them, and we don't know that they're operating here. And I think Montreal is, unfortunately, Montreal is a good example of how they can infiltrate society in general and cause problems. The
governments, though, here in Ontario have said you can't imply political interference at this point, none at all, and it's irresponsible to do so.
I suspect that's an opinion, and I'm not here to argue with them at all, but I would suspect that if any group that has extreme financial influence certainly could influence political power.
And so what's being done to address them?
The same thing, I think, that's always been quietly done behind the scenes. I worked for a number of years in international organized crime, and the same thing is a number of individual officers are working very hard every day all over the country, and in fact all over the world, to try and do whatever they can to curtail this.
Does the Joe average or Jane average have to be worried about this? How does it affect their lives if they're not involved in criminal activity?
Well, I think it affects all of our lives because, drugs and prostitution are pervasive. They affect our quality of life. They affect, everything within our life here. They do create violence, even if it's not perpetrated by the organized crime group at the street level. That violence is as a direct result of what these people are doing.
Sure. Well, it's a fascinating story. Thank you for coming in and explaining a little bit of it to us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Mike Harvey, specializing in organized crime.